So in the last solo cast that I put out into the podcast and YouTube network, I was talking about my story, and it was sort of part one. It was from conversion through early church planting, my move into business, the way the Lord led me and others into Kyrgyzstan to work there among the unreached and new believers. And since then, that some of that work has spread all over the world, which has been an amazing thing to see. I want to pick it up from there and say, okay, what's happened since then? And the story from there sort of splits into two parts. And one is in my business career, I ended up going to work for one of my clients. I'd been a solopreneur most of my business life once I left the pastorate. A little short stint for a company in the early 90s, but most of it on my own, hiring others, building a company, having employees, all of that. And then in sort of the mid part of the Great Recession, 2007, 8, and 9, I made a conscious decision to go inside to work for one of my clients. And that was an amazing story in and of itself. We went from being a little, not a startup, but a roll-up of little companies into a slightly bigger company, a couple of $100 million in revenue in the staffing and employment industry. And by the time I stepped away and we sold the company in 2020 and 2021, we had grown into the largest light industrial staffing company in North America. We were at about $3.4 billion in revenue and 110,000 employees out working every single week. And the things I learned there about working inside a business, working, quote, for a boss, although the fellow who was my CEO, my boss is an amazing guy, an amazing friend now, and learned a ton from him and the other members of the executive team that I had the privilege of working with. So that was a great journey, and it was a great place to learn about how to build a culture, how to have a purpose that is bigger than yourself, how to give our 3,000 staff employees a meaningful approach to the work they did with the 110,000 field associates, or temporary employees as we call them. And all of that was fantastic. Learned a ton about leadership, learned a lot about the financial side of business, learned a lot about equity partners. We had 5 different ones during my tenure. Most of them were pretty good. A couple of them were, one in particular was not so healthy, but all of that journey was still a learning experience. I learned to leverage my influence through a team. My own department, there's probably 75 people in it, covered a lot of different areas in the company, and we were able to see God work in those different settings. And I'll come back in a minute and pick that up. But going back to the fork in the road, the other side of this, why did I go internal? Part of it was because of something that was said to me in Australia in 2011, to Australia on a speaking tour promoting my first Business as Mission book, which was called, ironically, Business as Mission. And I remember and the people down there, they loved it. The believers in Australia loved it, built some great friendships. Several of them remain in my best friend circle to this very day. One of whom is now almost my neighbor here in North Carolina. He moved over here, not to be with me, but he moved over here, and we see each other all the time. So it was a fantastic moment in my own walk with God, seeing another country, really spending a lot of time there, and seeing people open up and embrace the kingdom company, the kingdom impact of business concept. But something that was said to me in that very first conference in Sydney that I spoke at about starting kingdom businesses, being a business, an entrepreneur for the kingdom, all of those things. Somebody came to me during one of the breaks. She says, "Look, we love what you're saying, but for many of us, we're not bosses." That's their term, meaning founders or business owners. We're employees. We're not necessarily entrepreneurs. We work in jobs for companies, large and small. And I remember I was struck by that. I kind of filed it away and thought, all right, Lord, well, what do you do with this? Well, over a period of time, I began to realize that I need to write something on that, how to do business as mission when you're not the boss. And so I figured, well, if I'm going to do that, I need to be internal with one of my customers. I need to be the guy doing it inside, so I could actually write from experience and not just theory. And so I had begun to talk with that company, my client, about working with them internally during the Great Recession. And actually, 2009, I went internal with them. and that's when I realized that I had this wonderful laboratory that God had provided to learn how to have kingdom impact, to do business as mission when you're not in control. The side note, of course, we're not in control anyway, but in this case in particular, I wanted to be sure that I was writing not just from a book, from a research perspective, but also from experience. And so as I began to step into this company, I can tell you after the next 12 years with that company, internally as an employee, kingdom impact was made. And not only by me. It wasn't just, this is not it isn't maybe Mike's story, but it's not the Mike story. God was at work in me and others, and we began to see kingdom impact happen. And so I ended up writing an entire book about it. What the Lord had taught me, what the Lord had shown me, what is a kingdom employee? What is actual real kingdom impact? What is business's mission impact? It's not just the saving of souls. It is that, but it's a lot more as well. It's a lot broader. And so I began to see that. And I can tell you that over those 12 years that I was with that company, we saw people come to Christ. We saw people healed. We saw marriages healed. We saw relationships restored. We saw believers encouraged to be more bold and more open in their witness for Jesus. We saw all kinds of amazing things happen in that time. And I look back, it's like, this is clearly a God thing. And so what was happening there? Well, what was happening was there was a group of us that prayed together regularly. One guy, his name is Mike, another Mike, we have prayed together every Monday morning for 25 years. And that began when I was consulting with that company, and I interviewed him for that company and knew he was a believer and liked him instantly. We both felt very connected to each other, and we began to pray together. And then when I became an employee, he was already there, of course. And so we continued that. We prayed together literally every Monday morning and still do. This past Monday, we prayed together. We do it every single Monday morning, if at all possible. And so that was part of it, just seeing the things, the answers to prayer, just because two pretty ordinary guys were willing to commit to time with God, the three of us meeting on Monday morning to talk over what was happening, me, Mike, and Jesus. And that, if I could give you an encouragement, if you're working inside a company and you want to see a difference made, you want to see kingdom impact, do something like that. It doesn't have to be Monday morning. It doesn't have to be a guy named Mike, but find a prayer partner or a prayer group and intercede, lift up the company to the Lord daily, weekly, monthly, whatever. We also, whenever we would have a company meeting, there was a group of, I'm trying to think in my head now, probably 7, 8 different believers. There were more believers than that, but 7 or 8 that we knew well. And so we would always meet when the company was having a big meeting. We would meet typically in my hotel room for a season of prayer, just the 6, 7, 8, 9 of us. And some people would come and some people would go, but there was a core group that remained, and we prayed, and that went on for probably 14 years, praying over the company, praying for people to come to Christ, praying for believers to stand up for Christ, praying for them to become disciples, and all the other things that you run into in the normal course of events. So as we're going through this, again, prayer is a great lesson if you're going to want to have kingdom impact when you're not the boss. So I wrote a book about it. The original book was called 2IC, 2, the letter I, and the letter C. That came from my trip in Australia, where they told me they use the term 2IC for second in command. And so after I wrote the book and published it under that title, it was a cool title that nobody understood outside of Australia. So I republished under the title, Business's Mission When You're Not the Boss. And that's the point of it, right? I wasn't the boss. I was senior executive, but I wasn't the boss. And this is what came out of that. We also found that as you earned the trust of people, your colleagues, your coworkers, they would come to you. It's much like what happened to me in Kyrgyzstan when I was first over there as a believer, a business leader in a Muslim country. And there was something that attracted people to me and others like me that they would ask, are you a Christian? Is God in you? I mean, things of that nature. The same exact thing happened again inside this company, where colleagues would come to me and others as well And they began to ask the questions that all of us love to have asked. You remember when Peter writes, we should be ready to give a defense. We should be ready to give an explanation to anyone who asks us of the hope that is in us. They will see things in us. They will see our lives. They will see the way we handle diversity. They'll see the way that we handle decisions, the way that we handle people, terminations, and so forth. And from those experiences, they know there's something here they want to learn about, and they will come and they will ask. And gently, humbly, not putting ourselves forward. We are their service for Jesus' sake, being able to share Christ and scriptural reality as the answer to that. So that was kind of that experience. We grew, we expanded. We ended up, like I said, we went from about $200 million in revenue in the very beginning to $3.4 billion at the end. And then from there, I retired. I left there in retirement. I started a new company. I retired literally on a Friday afternoon and started a new company on a Monday afternoon to do two things: back to consulting primarily in that industry, the employment industry, the one I know best, but also going online with an educational platform to teach businesses mission principles around the world. It's called Third Path Initiative. So that's kind of where the fork in the road, my business career, and then going as well into my doing business as mission when I'm not the boss. It kind of comes back together now with the launch of Third Path Initiative and the Third Path website. And here's where that came from. This is an amazing God thing. So I would be invited to the Business as Mission Conference in North America every year. The convener of that, Mark Plummer, is a close friend of mine, and he would always invite me to come be a part of it and speak. And that was a journey. God bless Mark Plummer for leading that. We went from 40 or 50 people meeting in Dallas to at the end of the run, just prior to COVID, we had gotten up to 700 people in a meeting. And these were people, mainly North Americans, but from all over the world, coming in order to hear about business's mission and to engage in what God was doing in this movement, trying to understand it and figure out what it meant for their career, their businesses, their jobs. Really a powerful, powerful thing. And I can remember after doing this, I think 7 years in a row, we were in Northern California and Santa Clara at the biggest of the conferences. And while I was there, 2019, the Spirit spoke to me very clearly, and he said, "See, this is what I want you doing again," which was, I took it to mean it was time for me to leave my job. And now it was time to get back sort of more full time, if you will, into the business as mission movement. And so I thought, okay, well, I knew what I was going to do. I was going to put our training and stuff that we used to do in Kyrgyzstan, and I mentioned in the last podcast and the video cast, the 37 different countries we worked in. That type of teaching originally, wanted to put it online, and the idea was to be able to take it to more people, not to have to spend so much time and money traveling all over the world. I still enjoy that, but there's only so much you can do, and our team was wearing out. And so I thought, well, if we could put it online, we could make it more affordable, we could make it more accessible. So that's what I'll do. Now, put a pin in your calendar. This was 2019, the fall of 2019, like October. Well, we know what happened in early 2020. The pandemic hit, COVID hit, the world stopped turning for a while. And so people say, how did you know to put your business online? So, because the trips stopped. All the trips we were doing stopped. And all the trips pretty much anybody was doing stopped. And somebody says, how did you know to do that? And I know it sounds a bit cliche to say, God told me, but that is exactly right. God told me. And to his credit, God didn't just tell me once and I suddenly became totally obedient and did it. I mean, I knew then he had told me, but he kept telling me, not nagging me, he just kept sort of confirming that this is what I want you to do. And so remember, I'm still with this other company at the time, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to leave this company. It's time to step away, and it's going to be time to get back more into the world, sort of dedicated business as mission time. And so that was this fall of 2019. Later that fall, several things happened that really confirmed this, kind of set the nail, as we say in the U.S., One is a friend of mine who I did not expect this from, a coworker, called me up one morning and she said, Mike, I was praying this morning in my devotions, and the Lord told me to tell you, and I'm always suspicious when I hear that, but she said, the Lord told me to tell you it's time to get back to your overseas work, which again meant my business's mission teaching and training and business startups that we were doing. And I told her, I said, well, you have no idea how important it is because he just told me that about a month ago. And so, it was a confirmation. And then the next thing that happened in this chain of confirmation was that the CEO, my boss, was sort of forced off the board politically. It does happen in business, even great businesses. And so when he told me that, I knew it was time for me to go, not because he was leaving, like I was mad about it, but because I had made a commitment to him before the Lord. I'd made a commitment to him that I would stay as long as he would stay. Well, now that he was leaving, biblically, I would say my vow was fulfilled and I was free to leave. I was free to move on. So I said, okay, Lord, clearly I'm leaving. And then the sort of the final thing that happened was the new CEO they brought in, who smart guy, but and personally we got along okay, but I knew I wasn't going to be able to work for him. And I remember that was confirmed when he called me up out of the blue. I was hiking in the mountains with my wife, and I happened to pick it up because it was him, the new CEO, about to become the new CEO. And he said, "Hey, Mike, I want you to create an org chart, and in this org chart, here's the line of senior executives, and here's an empty box. I want you to put Chief People Officer there, and underneath it is where you're going to report." In other words, he just demoted me. He wasn't even the CEO yet, but he probably felt the same way about me. We weren't going to be a great team, and so he wanted somebody else in there. And that's like God says, "See, I told you again." So I knew, and I put my retirement papers in that January as soon as he was officially in the seat, and for 5 months, kind of did a workout helping the person who replaced me, the new person, to get her legs up under her and get positioned right. COVID hit, of course, and so we were guiding the company through the massive economic downturn that happened with COVID. We lost our sales, like 70% of our revenue, in a matter of weeks. Thankfully, it came back, but just helping navigate all that. And then May of that year, I stepped away, and as I mentioned earlier, started Third Path that following Monday. And so I've done two things. I've consulted the industry now, and I'm trying to lead Third Path into becoming a provider of business mission training, not just how to start a business, although it's a lot of it, but the biblical foundations of business mission, how to do a business canvas, a lean canvas for your startup, how to create a strategy for your business's mission company, how to be a kingdom employee, a lot of other things we put in, and not just me. We've got teachers from around the world. One is in South Africa, Audrey Dornebrecht, wonderful sister there who's got a great heart and head for human resources. So we brought together this team that's creating business's mission training, business's mission education online, written since then a number of books. Most recent one came out just this week. Timestamp this. This is March 13th of 2025. And so we literally just this week published a short book, a couple hundred pages, on how to start a business's mission company. And so that just came out on Amazon and also on a new site called books.by, B-Y, / Mike hyphen Baer. And anyway, so I've been writing books. Started the Business's Mission podcast, which is now in its sixth season. It's got a great listenership, and our guests are amazing. So I've been continuing to pursue this. We've moved our work, as you can see, not only from podcasting, but also not only from a website, but also to YouTube. We have a YouTube channel, Business's Mission with Mike Baer. I kind of wish we could get the name off everything, but everybody says, "Well, you're known, so let's play off of that," which is fine. I don't want to be falsely humble, but I'm also not anxious to see my name up in lights anymore. When I was younger, maybe yes. So that's been the sort of the last period of time. Since then, we've taken, this is an exciting development. We had Third Path Initiative, the education piece, and another organization led by Bob Bush called IBEC Ventures, which is a business mission coaching company dedicated to helping businesses mission practitioners around the world, launch and grow their businesses mission companies and have sustainability and kingdom impact. That's exciting. And so I'm looking at that thinking, okay, how does that work? Well, Bob came to me one day. He says, Mike, I have an idea. Why don't we join forces? You have Third Path. I have IBEC. Let's find a financial partner and let's start a one-stop shop for people that want to start businesses mission companies. And so he called it TriVenture, 3 ventures, TriVenture, and it is about courses, coaching, and capital. And so a couple of years later, we were able to add Legacy Generational Foundation to the mix as a funding mechanism for people that want to start their businesses. So that's become a wonderful development as we start thinking about, how do we take learning and then coaching the actual startup and funding the actual startup and make that work. And so that's what TriVenture is about. And we're beginning to see some wonderful, wonderful fruit from that as well. So that's been exciting. A couple other thoughts to me that just, since this is my story, kind of travelogue, my journey, let me tell you about, and then we went to Italy and then we went to, so a couple other things that just stand out to me in my own walk, and it's been fun. One is getting much more closely involved with BAM Global. João Mordomo from Brazil is the new executive director. Mats Tunhag from Sweden, and also Alexandria, Virginia, USA, is the chairman of the board. And then Joe Plummer is the sort of chief operating officer based in the southeast of England. This team, these guys are absolutely amazing at having built out a network of businesses mission practitioners, businesses mission support, businesses mission sympathizers, businesses mission intercessors, businesses mission providers, whatever. It's this ecosystem that's been built out. And so that's been an enormous thing to see happen from the early days when it was just a bunch of us in a laptop computer going overseas to try to figure this thing out. Now it's become a truly global movement. It is truly multi-ethnic, incredibly diverse in terms of race and nationality, ethnicity, language, culture, gender. I mean, every diversity factor you could think of, we've got this going on now. And kudos to Mats and João and to Joe in particular for leading this. But it's been a fun part of this journey for me, is working with them and helping support and helping support what it is that they're doing. And what's happening around the world. The other thing, which I'm really excited about, is within Third Path, and you know the path, no pun intended, the path that we've taken up till now. And so we've tried to bring businesses mission education, businesses mission courses, businesses mission resources, businesses mission coaching. We've tried to bring it to the ecosystem, to the market. And in the beginning, most of it seemed to be focused on getting expats to leave home and go to China or go to Kyrgyzstan or go to some other country and start a business. And I still believe in that. I still believe that that's a vital part of the movement. But what's been really exciting to watch is the rise of national leadership so that businesses mission as a network, as an ecosystem, as a movement, whatever, is no longer from the West to the rest. It's not from a bunch of North Americans and Western Europeans to the rest of the world. It is literally, it's being done everywhere. Virtually every single country on the planet, there is a business mission representation there. There's some level of kingdom companies starting and flourishing and using their businesses to make disciples and to impact the community, impact the economy, impact the environment. It's really it's been the joy of my life to see this happen. And so I think about this, and what I'm going to tell you is that with the rise of nationals, more and more national leadership, I'm seeing a shift, not away from expatriates, hear me clearly, not away from expatriates, but a shifting to a more blended strategy where expatriates are still going, primarily catalysts, to quote Mats Tunhag, but primarily catalysts and mobilizers and encouragers. They're also starting businesses, very successful businesses, and that should continue carrying the gospel in and through their business to the lost world. But also the nationals rising up to join in that, become an equal part of it, true partnership, because nationals have a distinct advantage. Many, actually, they live there. They know the culture. They know the language. They know all the stuff that it takes years for an expatriate to figure out. And so they're coming, and they're hungry, and they're learning, and they're starting businesses, funding, thank goodness, for faith-driven investors, faith-driven entrepreneurs, for Sovereign's Capital, for Heron Fund, for Legacy Foundational, Generational Foundation. There are funding mechanisms arising to bring this peace to nationals, not just to expats going, but to nationals. And so as God is moving and raising up entrepreneurs, he's not leaving them without provision. You know, getting somebody all dressed up with no place to go is kind of cruel. And I think we went through a period of time in the world of business as mission where we kind of did that, a transitional period. Now we are able, God has enabled us to sort of cover all the bases. And so I'm excited about that, and excited to see more and more nationals joining in, attending the online conferences, leading some of them, and teaching, and being equal players at the table. They have a seat at the table along with everybody else, showing that business as mission has finally emerged as a truly global movement. It is something that is everywhere and affecting everybody. So where does that leave me? Well, my job is not done. I still love going to conferences and speaking. I just got back from Vancouver, British Columbia, where I was able to, along with Jenny Nuccio from Kenya, I was able to talk to the group from our hearts about various simple, clear concepts. And mine in particular was just about intentionality, and just one word, asking the group there, about 200, primarily Canadians, but again, people from all over the world, to be intentional in their business, not just to be sort of directional, like, yeah, I'm kind of moving in a kingdom direction, but to be intentional and to have your business clearly, deliberately, thoughtfully, prayerfully connected, aligned with what God is doing in the world. And what is God doing in the world? I'll have a whole nother video on this in the near future, but a teaser, a feature, a preview of coming attractions is he is bringing all of the nations, especially the unreached, in the hard to get to places, to a saving knowledge of Jesus Christ. And so how is your business connected to that was my question for the group. And I loved it, and I came away greatly, greatly encouraged by that very fast one-day conference and a long weekend in British Columbia. So that's part of what I'm doing. I'm speaking at conferences. I love doing that. I'm going to Argentina in a few weeks to teach for a couple of weeks down there in 7 or 8 different locations. So that sort of thing is fun. But the other thing I'm really, in my own life, I'm coming to is that you reach a place, and I don't know if it's maturity or age, but you begin realizing that others are the new doers. The doers of the work are going to be some of the younger folks. I have a heart for the next generation. I'm excited about where they're going to carry the movement. They're not going to just do what we did again. They're not going to do what we did in more places. They're going to do new things to carry this journey, to carry this movement forward and make it fuller and more impactful. And so I look at this next generation and realize that, God is not setting me aside. God is not putting me out to pasture. He's made that very clear. But he's also saying, Mike, you don't need to go do everything anymore. And not just me. There are many others like me. They're having the same experience. It's like, okay, number one, pour into this next generation. How do you do that? Well, these are the 2 words I think about the most. And some of my older brothers and sisters listening to this or watching this can probably identify. Now, you move from a time where you're doing to a time where you're advising, and you become more of the mentor. You become somebody who advises the doers, who guides the doers, who is a resource for the doers. And then there's something beyond that. And I'll be honest with you, I'm really wrestling with what that means. I don't mean intellectually, but what it looks like. And somebody described it as being, where your impact for the kingdom is that just your being. And what comes to mind, just so you'll know kind of where I'm thinking, what comes to mind is the idea from John 15, where Jesus said, if you abide in me, okay, if you remain in me. In other words, if you are in me, if you're being in me, you will bear much fruit. And I think that's sort of that coming stage of really learning more and more. What does it mean to truly abide in the vine, to have his life flowing through me, through you, and bearing fruit? We're not doing anything necessarily. We are simply being. So that's the last 35 years in a couple of 30-minute podcasts. I appreciate the chance to share my story and what I've learned and what I'm learning now, where I see some of this going. I will tell you, and I know I speak for Mats and Joe and Zhao and Bill and others around the world, to see this thing, this new movement, which is not really new. It goes back to the Garden of Eden. Business is a good thing from God. It was created and is meant to be a blessing to all the nations anyway. But to see it, resurrected, rediscovered, and put into play in the 21st century, which is exactly what's happened. To see what God is doing is exciting. To see that it's so far beyond any of us who were there in kind of the early days, if you will, and to see that he has so much more in mind. So thrilled to death with that. And I hope to share more of what God's teaching me in a personal level from time to time on this podcast. I'll do some teaching once a month as we go into the weekly format. We'll have typically 3 out of 4 Mondays will be a guest, and 1 out of those Mondays will be me. Sometimes it'll be me and another person sort of teaching together, but I do feel very much the need to pass on and to share knowledge and concepts and principles and best practices. So I'll be doing that about 1 Monday a month. Try to keep them short, not make them long, boring lectures, but really just sharing things that God has shared with me to share with you. So pretty excited. Like I say, it's been a wonderful journey, and God has blessed it. Nobody can take credit. Let's be clear. This is not a movement of man. It didn't start from a man. It wasn't continued by a man. It won't continue by man. This is something that God did, God has done, God is doing, and God will do. Aslan is on the move, as C.S. Lewis said in the Chronicles of Narnia. And for those of us who have watched it, I suspect we all share the same sense of wonder when we go back in our own story 30, 35, 40 years ago and say, what was that? And look at what God's done with it. So my final encouragement in this episode to you is if you're not involved, get involved. If you are involved, go further and higher up. Again, the quote from the Chronicles of Narnia, further and higher up. Just go in, give it all. Whatever that looks like for you, I don't know the answer. Ask the Lord to show you, Lord, what is full involvement in what you're doing in the world look like for me? And the beauty is he will answer. His answer will be wonderful because he is the wonderful counselor. His answer will be creative and innovative. He doesn't just say, we'll do like that guy's doing. No, he has new things for each of us, and that's part of the journey. So until the next time we talk, God bless and get in the game.